A woman led by God is unstoppable. She is a force of nature, driven by a deep, unwavering faith that guides her through every trial, every challenge, and every moment of doubt. Her faith isn't just a belief. It is the foundation of everything she does. It fuels her purpose, it gives her direction, and it sustains her when the road gets tough. She trusts that God has already equipped her with everything she needs to succeed, and no setback or obstacle can take that away from her. That is why she brings us so much. She's sent us whatever we need. She walks in the confidence that she is not walking alone, but with God, who strengthens her every step of the way. When a woman is led by God, she doesn't need the approval of others to know her worth. She knows that she has been created with a unique purpose and a calling that only she can fulfill. She doesn't compare herself to the world around her because she understands that her journey is ordained by God and it is unlike anyone else's. She moves forward with boldness, not swayed by society's expectations or the opinions of others. She is focused, driven by a calling higher than any earthly ambition, and her heart is aligned with God's plan for her life. But let's not get it twisted. Just because she is led by God doesn't mean the road is easy. The challenges will come, the setbacks will arise. But a woman led by God knows how to rise above them. She knows that with every struggle, there is an opportunity for growth, for strength, for resilience. She doesn't see adversity as an end, but as a stepping stone to something greater. She understands that every hardship is an invitation to lean deeper into her faith. And when she does, she becomes stronger than she was before. She is not defined by the obstacles she faces, but by the way she faces them, with grace, with faith, and with the unshakable knowledge that God's plan is always greater than any moment of difficulty. A woman led by God also knows the power of integrity. She doesn't compromise her values to succeed because she knows her value doesn't come from what the world says about her. It comes from who she is in Christ. She is authentic, honest, and true to herself. Her integrity is a light to others, showing them that success doesn't have to come at the expense of one's character. She refuses to take shortcuts or cut corners because she knows that with God, the right path will always lead to the right destination. Her integrity is her shield, and no amount of temptation or pressure can cause her to stray from the truth. But perhaps the most powerful thing about a woman led by God is her ability to lift others up. She doesn't rise just for herself, she rises to be a light for others, especially for those who may be struggling, those who feel lost, or those who feel they have been overlooked. She understands that her success is not just about her own personal gain. It's about the impact she can have on the lives of those around her. She empowers others to step into their own greatness, and she makes space for them to shine. A woman led by God is not afraid of another woman's success. She encourages it, celebrates it, and helps make it possible. She knows that when one woman rises, we all rise. And that, my friends, is what makes a woman led by God unstoppable. She walks in the full confidence of knowing who she is, and knowing that with God, there is nothing she cannot do. She stands tall even in the face of adversity because she knows her strength comes from the one who has already overcome the world. She is unwavering, she is unshakable, and she is destined to change the world one step at a time. When a woman is led by God, there is no force on earth that can stop her. She is unstoppable. A woman led by God is a woman who walks through life with an unshakable faith, a trust that is grounded in something far deeper than what the world can offer. This faith is not simply a passive belief, it's an active force that propels her forward, especially when the path seems uncertain or difficult. It's a trust in the unseen, a knowing that she is never truly alone, even in her hardest moments. She believes that God has already equipped her with everything she needs to succeed, no matter what the circumstances look like. Her strength doesn't come from her own power, but from the deep-rooted belief that God is in control, guiding her every step, and that his plan for her life is one of purpose, promise, and prosperity. This faith is what fuels her resilience. It's the source of her ability to face challenges head-on, to stand tall when the world tells her to bow, and to press forward even when doubt creeps in. She understands that faith isn't just about believing when things are going well, it's about believing even when things seem impossible. It's about having the courage to trust that God's timing is perfect, and that even when she can't see the road ahead, God is already there, laying the path for her. She moves with confidence, not because she has all the answers, but because she knows the one who does. The power of faith in her life is transformative. It reshapes her perspective on challenges, making her see obstacles as opportunities to grow, to learn, and to become stronger. When the storms of life rage around her, she doesn't crumble under the weight of fear or anxiety. Instead, she stands firm, knowing that God's presence is her anchor. The kind of faith she carries isn't fragile. It's enduring because it's rooted in the eternal, and through that faith, she begins to realize that nothing in this world has the power to truly defeat her. Not the opinions of others, not the failures she may face, not the setbacks that try to derail her. Her faith tells her that even when things don't go as planned, there's a greater purpose unfolding that she may not fully understand, but that she can trust. This faith also empowers her to be a beacon of hope for others. She becomes a living testimony to what happens when a person walks in alignment with God's purpose. Her faith isn't something she keeps to herself. It radiates outward, touching everyone around her. It becomes a source of encouragement, strength, and inspiration to others who may be struggling. When people see a woman led by God, they see a woman who is unwavering, whose heart is fixed on God's promises, and who is determined to fulfill her calling. It's this unshakable faith that not only makes her unstoppable, but that also makes her a light in a world that can often feel dark and uncertain. Through the power of her faith, she moves with purpose and courage, and she never doubts that the obstacles before her are simply stepping stones that will bring her closer to the life that God has promised. Her faith is the key to unlocking her potential, and it is the fuel that drives her toward a future she may not yet see, but that she is confident will be filled with grace, fulfillment, and success. This is the strength of a woman led by God. Her faith is unshakable, her trust is unbreakable, and with every step she takes, she becomes a powerful force for change. A woman led by God carries within her a deep understanding of her purpose, a knowing that she was created for something unique, something greater than herself. She doesn't wander through life without direction. She moves forward with a clear sense of calling, even if she hasn't fully realized all the steps to get there. Her life is driven by a deep desire to fulfill what God has placed inside her heart, a divine purpose that only she can carry out. This purpose isn't defined by society's standards or the expectations of others. Instead, it is a unique blueprint that God has written for her, and it's something that no one else can take away or replicate. What sets a woman led by God apart is that she is not defined by external influences, accolades, or the approval of others. She doesn't seek validation from the world because she already knows her value comes from God. The world may tell her to follow certain paths or fit into specific molds, but she understands that her worth isn't based on what others think of her. Instead, she remains focused on the deeper calling that comes from within, trusting that the Creator who designed her also knows exactly where she is meant to go. She moves with confidence not because the world agrees with her, but because she is aligned with a higher purpose that transcends everything around her. This sense of purpose empowers her to remain steadfast, no matter what life throws her way. When the world tells her to give up, to take the easy route, or to back down from challenges, she knows better. She understands that the difficulties she faces are part of the process to fulfill the calling God has placed on her life. She doesn't back down because she knows the path ahead might not be easy, but it's the path that leads to her destiny. The clarity of purpose she carries gives her the strength to persevere and the wisdom to navigate obstacles with grace. When life doesn't make sense, when things get difficult, and when she faces rejection or failure, she doesn't waver because her eyes are fixed on the bigger picture, the fulfillment of God's plan for her. Her sense of purpose also drives her to be authentic. She doesn't feel the need to compare herself to anyone else because she is secure in who she is and what God has called her to be. She understands that she doesn't need to be anyone other than herself to fulfill her calling. She embraces her gifts, her talents, and her strengths, knowing that they are all part of the divine plan. This authenticity allows her to be true to herself and to others, to live a life of integrity, and to make decisions that align with her values and purpose. In a world that often tries to push people into boxes, a woman led by God remains grounded in her individuality. She knows that her journey is not one of conformity, but one of transformation, and her purpose is to impact the world in a way that only she can. This sense of purpose becomes a driving force in her life, guiding her decisions, relationships, and actions. It fuels her passion and ignites a fire within her that nothing can extinguish. When others doubt her or try to hold her back, she keeps moving forward because she knows she is on a divine path and no one can stand in the way of what God has ordained for her life. Her purpose also brings a profound sense of peace. She doesn't waste time questioning herself or wondering if she's on the right path. Instead, she finds fulfillment in knowing that her steps are guided by God. Her heart is at rest because she knows that when she is aligned with God's will, everything else falls into place. Even in the midst of uncertainty, she moves forward with confidence, trusting that God is leading her exactly where she needs to go. This peace, born of knowing her purpose, makes her unstoppable. It allows her to remain focused on the work at hand, to stand firm in her decisions, and to keep pressing forward with determination and joy, knowing she is living out the purpose for which she was created. A woman led by God possesses a unique resilience that sets her apart from the world. Resilience in its purest form is not merely about bouncing back from hardship or surviving tough circumstances. It is about thriving despite adversity, about finding strength in places where others may falter, and about maintaining unwavering faith even when the world seems to be conspiring against you. A woman led by God faces the same trials, struggles, and heartaches as everyone else, but her ability to endure and rise above them is rooted in her relationship with God, the one who sustains her and empowers her to keep moving forward. The road she travels is not always smooth. In fact, it often seems filled with more obstacles than victories. There are moments of pain, moments of doubt, and times when the weight of the world feels unbearable. But through it all, a woman led by God knows that the challenges are not in vain. She understands that suffering and adversity are often the very tools God uses to shape her, to refine her, and to prepare her for the great purpose He has for her life. This perspective changes everything. Instead of seeing hardships as barriers to her progress, she sees them as opportunities for growth. When she faces a setback, she doesn't let it define her. Instead, she allows it to deepen her understanding of who she is in Christ and what she is capable of achieving. This deep-rooted resilience is born from a faith that is not dependent on external circumstances. A woman led by God does not place her trust in what she can see, hear, or touch. Instead, she places her trust in the eternal promises of God, knowing that He is faithful to complete the work He has begun in her. Even in the darkest times, when everything seems uncertain, she holds firm to the truth that God is still in control. This trust gives her the strength to endure, even when she feels weary or when her circumstances seem insurmountable. She knows that her present suffering is temporary, but the glory that awaits her is eternal. This eternal perspective allows her to rise above the pain of the moment and keep pressing forward, knowing that God is using everything for her good. One of the greatest sources of resilience for a woman led by God is the power of prayer. Prayer is her lifeline, the moment when she connects with her Creator and draws strength directly from the source. In prayer, she finds comfort, guidance, and the courage to keep moving forward. Prayer is not a one-time event for her. It is a constant conversation with God, a reminder that she is never alone in her struggles. When life gets difficult, when the obstacles seem too high to climb, she turns to prayer. She seeks God's wisdom, His strength, and His peace. In doing so, she finds that the challenges of life become more manageable because she knows she is not facing them in her own strength, but in the strength of God. Through prayer, a woman led by God taps into a supernatural resilience that allows her to endure hardship with grace. When the storms of life rage around her, she doesn't panic. She doesn't lash out in anger or frustration. Instead, she relies on God's peace to guard her heart and mind. She knows that God will never leave her nor forsake her, and that knowledge gives her the courage to keep going even when it feels like everything is falling apart. The act of praying brings her back to a place of calm, helping her to remember that no matter what is happening in her life, God is in control, and He is working all things together for her good. Resilience is also about perspective. A woman led by God doesn't see the challenges she faces as obstacles. She sees them as opportunities to grow in her faith. She understands that through every trial, God is refining her character, strengthening her trust in Him, and teaching her valuable lessons that will serve her throughout her life. It is easy to become discouraged when things aren't going according to plan. But a woman who walks with God knows that her plan isn't the one that matters most. God's plan is the one that will prevail, and His plans are always for her good. So instead of focusing on the difficulty of the moment, she focuses on the purpose behind the trial. She trusts that even though she may not understand why something is happening, God is using it to shape her into the woman He has called her to be. This mindset allows her to face challenges with a sense of hope and determination. She doesn't give up when the road gets tough, because she knows that perseverance is part of the journey. She understands that every great achievement requires hard work and sacrifice, and that the process of becoming who God has called her to be will not be easy, but it will be worth it. With each challenge she overcomes, her faith grows stronger, her character is refined, and her resilience becomes even more solidified. She becomes a living testimony of the power of God to transform hardship into triumph, and she inspires others to do the same. Another key aspect of resilience for a woman led by God is her ability to forgive. Forgiveness is not easy, especially when she has been hurt deeply. But she knows that holding on to bitterness and resentment only weighs her down. It is through forgiveness that she finds freedom, not only for herself, but also for the ones who have wronged her. God's forgiveness toward her is what enables her to forgive others, and she chooses to release the pain and anger that could otherwise drag her down. In forgiving others, she reflects the love and grace of God, and she allows herself to be free from the chains of bitterness and unforgiveness that can hold her back. Forgiveness does not mean forgetting the hurt or condoning the actions that caused her pain. It simply means choosing to release the burden of anger and resentment, knowing that God will handle the situation in His time. This is an important part of resilience because it allows her to move forward without being weighed down by the past. She no longer allows past hurts to define her future. Instead, she chooses to let go of the pain and press on toward the future God has planned for her. The resilience of a woman led by God also comes from the support of the community of believers around her. She is not meant to walk this journey alone, and she draws strength from the relationships she has with others who share her faith. Whether through family, friends, or her church community, a woman led by God knows the power of surrounding herself with those who will encourage her, pray with her, and hold her accountable. These relationships provide a safety net when she feels like she can't go on, reminding her that she is loved, supported, and not alone in her struggles. The strength of a community of believers amplifies her own resilience, giving her the courage to keep moving forward and to keep trusting in God's plan for her life. Finally, resilience for a woman led by God is about standing firm in her identity as a child of God. When life tries to knock her down, she knows who she is and she knows whose she is. Her identity is rooted in Christ, not in her circumstances or the opinions of others. She is secure in the truth that she is fearfully and wonderfully made, and that no matter what happens in her life, her worth is not diminished. This unshakable sense of identity gives her the strength to endure because she knows that her value is not based on her achievements or failures, but on the love of God, which remains constant and unchanging. With this foundation, she is able to stand strong in the face of adversity, trusting that no matter what happens, God's love for her is unwavering. She is more than a conqueror through Christ, and nothing, absolutely nothing, can separate her from the love of God. This knowledge empowers her to keep moving forward no matter what challenges come her way, knowing that with God by her side, she can overcome anything. In the end, a woman led by God is unstoppable because her resilience comes from a deep, unshakable foundation. She faces challenges with faith, trust, and a determination to rise above whatever comes her way. Through prayer, perspective, forgiveness, community, and a firm sense of her identity in Christ, she stands tall in the face of adversity, knowing that God is always with her, strengthening her every step of the way. She is a living testimony of what it means to endure and thrive through life's trials, and her story serves as an inspiration to others who may be facing their own struggles. In conclusion, a woman led by God embodies resilience that is both profound and transformative. Her strength is not rooted in her own abilities, but in the unwavering faith she has in God's power and His purpose for her life. Through the challenges and hardships she faces, she learns to trust in God's plan, knowing that every obstacle is an opportunity for growth and transformation. Her resilience is shaped by her ability to forgive, her deep prayer life, her perspective on trials, and her unshakable sense of identity as a child of God. She stands firm not because she is free from struggle, but because she knows she is never alone in her journey. The support of a loving community of believers, her authentic trust in God, and her relentless pursuit of her divine purpose give her the strength to endure and rise above all that comes her way. A woman led by God is unstoppable because she knows that her ultimate victory is in Christ. And no matter how difficult the journey may seem, she will always be empowered by His presence and guidance. Through her resilience, she becomes an example to others of what it means to live a life of faith, purpose, and unshakable trust in God. She teaches us that with God, nothing is impossible. And with His strength, we too can overcome any challenge. A woman led by God is not just strong in her own right. She is a beacon of hope, inspiring others to embrace their own faith and trust in God's transformative power.